please don't use a car battery. You can use marine batteries, but you're still only going to get about 50 cycles out of that, and that's not going to last you very long. You want a battery that's designed for 500 or greater cycles, which is the next vocabulary. A cycle, generally when you're measuring battery capacity, is taking the battery from 100% to 50%. Okay, that's one cycle. Most of the time when you read about the battery, they're going to tell you how many cycles they expect out of a life expectancy when you're going through all the web pages looking for batteries. And they'll tell you 900 cycles, 1200 cycles. Again, you get what you pay for. Like I said, the one that I mentioned in my report is a T105. It's a Trojan battery. They make golf cart batteries and PV batteries. They're generally rated between 500 and 900 cycles. You can get ones that are, the Cadillac batteries, and those things are good for like 4,000, 5,000 cycles, but they are very expensive. So you get what you pay for. All right, any questions so far?
So the T105 Trojan battery, that's a golf cart battery?
Yes. But it's a battery. It's used for golf carts. It's not made just for golf carts. It's a deep cycle battery that you can use, and they do use in golf carts. But no, it's not a golf cart battery per se. It's like saying that a AA is a remote battery. See what I'm saying?
The guys down the street, though,
All right, good.
these guys right down the street here, Atlas Golf,
Yep.
they're a dealer for those batteries.
Yeah, they probably, if they don't have them in stock, they can't sell them. They can't get them because they're a Trojan dealer. Any golf cart
Atlas
place can
Golf?
get them.
Atlas Golf, right across the highway here.
Okay.
Buggy's Unlimited too, is another place.
They use them in floor machines and those, scooters they got in the wall.
They power forklifts with batteries.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
monster, super industrial ones, but they do.
How long did you say those batteries would last?
Well, that's what I was saying, that's the cycle. That's the number that I was talking about, cycles. That's how long it will last. Now, of course, if you only use it once a week, then you're gonna get 52 cycles per year. If you use it every day, you're gonna get 365 cycles per year. So, and remember, a cycle is from 100% to 50%. So if it's a 500 cycle battery, you're gonna get a year and 2/3 out of it, if you use it every day. So, it depends how many it's rated for, so.
How would you know about, let's say, if you're trying to put how much you use at night or something?
I'll get to that. There's a lot on that. Cycle, depth of discharge, you'll see DOD used a lot. It's an acronym you'll see a lot, so it means depth of discharge. That's the 50%, 100% thing I was talking about. You can take any rechargeable battery from 100 to 0, but like I said, you don't want to do that because it causes sulfation when you recharge it. The depth of discharge is directly correlated with how long the battery lasts. An example, if you have the same battery and you take it to 50% depth of discharge for 500 cycles, and then you take that same battery and you only take it to 75%, from 100 down to 75%, you'll get twice as much life out of that battery, twice as many cycles. Does that make sense? If you take it down to 25%, you'll get half as many as you did at the 50% discharge rate. Okay? So that's what we're talking about when I say DOD, depth of discharge. All right, questions?
If you're not using your batteries, is there a way to buy a battery that's dry, I think they call it, there's no liquid in it, and it's better to store it that way, rather than have the liquid in it?
Are you asking, should you have a dry battery or do liquid batteries store?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Both?
Both.
AGM are kind of dry. They're dry batteries. You can flip them upside down and they don't leak. But that's really the only advantage, as far as I'm concerned, that you get
I
out of
think I
that.
heard a different question.
That's what I was
Yeah,
asking.
too.
I think her
You
question
can-
was, and let me see, if I'm gonna store it and use it for long term, maybe just keep it for an emergency,
Yeah.
can I buy it dry? And the answer is you can, but you have a special order.
You do not, you won't buy flooded lead acid batteries dry, but it doesn't make a difference. You can let a flooded lead acid battery sit. Every battery has a average rate of decline every month, 2% or 4 or 5%. Most flooded leaded acids are, don't quote me, but it matters how new they are. A new one will maybe lose 2% a month. But we'll get to that because you're going to be hooking up a controller and a panel to it, so that won't matter. But you can sit them and use them. However, most of the places that I've talked to about batteries and buying them in advance, like I think you're asking, They say don't buy them until you're about ready to start, at least putting them on a charger and cycling them. Buy them to use them, don't buy them to store them. You can, but you're gonna be losing overall life without even getting anything out of it.
I still think you're not
Yeah.
answering your question.
I'm agreeing with him.
Yeah.
What she's saying is, you know that from the factory, they send dry batteries and you have to add sulfuric acid and distilled water to it to make it work. So what she's saying, if you take a dry battery with no sulfuric acid, nothing in it, and have to store the sulfuric acid and the water
Oh, I see.
separate,
Yeah.
will that battery last like
Yes.
stored food?
Yes, that's what I was trying to
Indefinitely,
say.
as long as you keep it out of humidity, yeah, indefinitely.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
That's what I was
do that.
trying to say, thank you.
As long as you understand how to go about filling them, that's a whole nother thing. There's some of my
You
important
keep
things.
talking about batteries losing this power. If you got it on the charger constantly, and you're using it, you can leave it on charge as you use it, can't you?
Yeah.
And that way it won't.
Yeah, think of it like water. It's just like the battery is 100% full of water. If you're using some and it's going down, but you're also filling it, it's gonna stay at top. Same thing. Think of it like water volume. Same thing, same difference. Is there another question over here? No? Okay, we'll keep going. Charge controllers. The charge controller is simply designed to take your solar panel power, convert it to the right voltage and amperage that your battery needs to be charged. That's its job. Okay? Solar panels are they usually cap them at around 8 amps, and the voltage varies based on how many watts it's designed. A 230 watt panel will be like 32 volts and 8 amps. The charge controller takes that 32 volts and 8 amps and makes it into 12 volt or 14.7 volts charging, and however many amps the charge controller is set for, and however many batteries you have in the given bank that you want to charge. But I'll get to more of that in a second. There are different types of charge controllers, and just like all of the components, you get what you pay for. I recommend getting a charge controller that will do at least 3 things. One is it needs to be able to charge all of your batteries in the short enough time span from your panels that you can get a full charge on the batteries at one shot. In South Carolina, we're supposed to get 4.5 hours of full sun, and you get like 2 hours on each side of 3/4 sun. So you need to be able to take your solar panel is what I recommend. Your solar panels need to be able to have a big enough charge controller to charge your battery bank in that given time frame, about 6 or 7 hours. So, in other words, if you've got a battery bank that holds, I'm going to use simplified numbers again. If you've got a battery bank that needs 5,000 watts of charge, and you've got 1,000 watts of solar panels, okay, your solar panels are going to have to run for 5 hours at 1,000 watts to charge that 5,000 watt bank. Makes sense, right? 1,000 times 5, 5,000. So if we've only got 5 hours of good sun in South Carolina, and you've got a 5,000 watt battery bank, which isn't that much, by the way, you need to be able to have a charge controller that can put 12 volts times 80 amps, let's say 80. 12 volts times 80 amps into those batteries so that you can charge them in 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours, okay? So the charge controller, and you can go to Northern Tool and get a 20 amp charge controller, you can get a 30, I don't think they have anything bigger than 50. But a 50 amp charge controller, keep in mind, all of those are 12 volts. You're getting 12 volts times 50 amps, that's 600 watts of charging power. Okay, that's not actually that much. If you've got, just the basic battery here it's actually about 1,850 watts. So, I hope that you look at my fancy little formula, because I really did spend a lot of time on that. And I'll read through it here. You know what? I'm just going to write it because a lot of you don't have the sheet. If you've got the battery that I have listed in my report, and I am not a Trojan vendor, I don't have any connection, I did not authorize my Department of Energy Secretary to give Trojan a $535 million grant, so I don't have any stock in it at all. It's just an example battery, it's a good battery, so that's my disclaimer. All right. They make a 225